This World Heritage Site is steeped in history, where medieval charm is preserved in its Gothic architecture, narrow cobblestone streets, and winding canals. Stunning landmarks showcase its rich past as Northern Europe's thriving center of trade and culture. It is home to a legendary relic brought back from the Holy Land during the Second Crusade, and also home to a famous sculpture by Michelangelo, twice taken, twice returned. We visit fabulous Bruges in Belgium. Bruges dates back to 865, when the first Count of Flanders built a fort to defend against Viking invasions. By the 12th century, Bruges grew to become the capital of the County of Flanders, with defensive walls and canals, including a moat encircling the city. Flemish cloth was a highly sought commodity across Europe, and Bruges was the center of its production and international distribution. Italian merchants and bankers arrived with regular shipping service to Genoa and Venice. And Bruges likely had the world's first stock exchange, with a sophisticated money market opened in 1309, preceding Amsterdam's exchange by almost 300 years. Dukes of Burgundy loved staying in Bruges after a marriage of convenience linked Burgundy with Flanders. By the 14th century, Bruges grew into an economic powerhouse as the most important market in Northern Europe, facilitating trade with the south, and it was as large as London. The glorious medieval buildings we see today were built throughout this period. As we see on this 1562 map, ships arrived from the North Sea, where goods were transferred to smaller boats to travel the canals, past the town of Dom, and right into Bruges' Market Square. At the square, boats were unloaded and loaded by cranes, and goods were stored in a large warehouse before shipment to other countries. Notice the human hamster wheel on the crane. We now head to historic Burg Square to see their medieval city hall, city court, and the Basilica of the Holy Blood. And from there, we make a stop at Bruges' postcard view before continuing on. The City Hall has a wonderful Gothic facade built in 1400 and still functions as their City Hall today. These are white sandstone statues of knights, nobles, and saints. Its Gothic room is fabulous. In 1464, Bruges had one of Europe's first parliaments, and for centuries the city council met here to discuss the town's affairs. Wall murals depict episodes from the city's history. The fireplace at the end has a declaration from 1305 that says, "Citizens of Bruges are free, all of them." This building served as their courthouse. This grand fireplace mantelpiece was carved from oak in 1531. The man on the left is the hometown duke, who is related to the man in the center, who is the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, the most powerful man in Europe at the time. The duke wanted this display to showcase his local power. I love the dark exterior of the Basilica of the Holy Blood. It is considered the oldest building in Bruges, built in 1150 as a chapel for the Count of Flanders. Legend has it that while conducting the burial of Jesus, Joseph of Arimathea wiped blood from the body of Christ with a cloth and preserved it. Then the King of Jerusalem gave it to his brother-in-law, the Count of Flanders, for his service in the Second Crusade. The Count brought the relic back to Bruges, where it sits in the upper chapel of the basilica. The old shred of cloth with Christ's blood is housed in a crystal flask with elaborate gold settings. It's on display every Friday before and after Mass. Procession of the Holy Blood occurs every year on Ascension Day, an event dating back to the 13th century. This upper level was destroyed in 1799 by French revolutionaries and later renovated in the 19th century in neo-Gothic style. The lower chapel is original, preserved in its Romanesque style with 12th century relief panels.
Video, okay.
This is the postcard view of Bruges with the bell tower in the back. We continue south to my favorite hidden gem behind the church. Then we make a visit inside the fabulous Church of Our Lady. Behind the Church of Our Lady is this charming spot, a tiny stone bridge with stone buildings and a beautiful view of the canal. This place is a hidden gem tucked away from the main street, and it's easy to miss if you don't look for it. The Church of Our Lady dates back to the 13th century and has the second tallest brick tower in the world at 115 meters. We really enjoyed this church for its statues, paintings, and tombs. Here is the grand showcase of Michelangelo's Madonna and Child. In 1504, the young Michelangelo took time out while carving his large David to work on this one. It's the only statue of his to leave Italy during his lifetime. It was taken twice from Bruges, first by the French revolutionaries in 1794 and returned after Napoleon's Waterloo defeat in 1815. It was also confiscated by the Nazis in 1944 and rescued a year later along with other stolen art by a special American Army unit as depicted in the movie The Monuments Men. In the 15th century, Bruges was under the domain of the Dukes of Burgundy, and while England and France battled each other in the Hundred Years' War, Bruges was the Duke's favorite residence. Here are the impressive tombs of the last local rulers of Bruges, Mary of Burgundy and her father Charles the Bold. Mary was only 25 in 1482 when she fell off her horse and died. Her husband was heir to the Holy Roman Empire. Her father also died prematurely in battle. Their deaths meant Bruges would be swallowed up by the Habsburg Empire and ruled from Vienna. As we had extra time, we strolled northwest of the main square to visit a couple museums depicting life during Bruges in their 17th century golden age. Our first stop is the Lace Center, showcasing examples and history of the craft. Bobbin lace making grew across Europe in the 1500s, and Bruges had large schools offering poor households a way to make a living. Around 1800, machines then automated the process and the demand for lace waned. But upstairs, they keep the art alive with demonstrations open to the public.
Wow. How many hours have you been working on the part?
And across the street is the Folklore Museum with charming exhibits including an old classroom, a store, pharmacy, shoemaker, and tailor workshops along with household items. Over time, the harbor feeding Bruges began to silt up. By the 16th century, the Dukes of Burgundy left Bruges, and its sea trade eventually collapsed, shifting trade to Antwerp and then to Amsterdam. And for the next 4 centuries, Bruges was a well-preserved sleeping beauty. In the 19th century, a new port was built, and it eventually grew as a tourist destination. Germany occupied Bruges during both World Wars, but fortunately it was not damaged. In 1944, Bruges was liberated by the Canadian troops. And today it sees about 8 million tourists a year. I love European old towns after dark, and my capture of Bruges is fabulous. So be sure to watch my video Bruges at Night, which you have the option to play next. If you enjoy my videos, I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified of new releases. It's free, and sharing with your friends is much appreciated.